Imagine owning a beautiful home or a portfolio of rental properties, but your name is nowhere to be found in the public records. No nosy neighbors, no aggressive lawyers, no creditors knocking at your door. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, it's not. It's called a land trust. And today I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to protect your property and privacy like a pro. So stick around because I'm sharing stories, stats, and step-by-step tips that could save you thousands or even millions. And trust me, you won't want to miss one mistake that 90% of property owners make with land trusts, so let's dive in. Hi, this is the business guy, the CEO of the Lawyers Limited Law Firm and Asset Protection Planners. And for 34 years, I've helped thousands of people safeguard their wealth through strategies like land trusts. And today I'm going to teach you how land trusts work, why they're a game changer for privacy, why I've personally set up thousands of them for clients, and how to set one up the right way. Let's get started. So what exactly is a land trust? In simple terms, it's a legal structure that holds title to your real estate, keeping your name off of the public records. So think of it as an invisibility cloak for your property ownership. Unlike other trusts, a land trust is a type of revocable living trust, meaning you can change it at any time. But here's the kicker. A typical land trust is designed specifically to hide who owns the property while letting you maintain full control. Let's paint a picture. Meet Sarah, a real estate investor I worked with a few years ago. Sarah owned 5 rental properties here in Florida. Of course, we work with people all over the country and different countries for that matter. And her name was plastered all over the public records. One day, a tenant slipped on a staircase, sued her, and the lawyer dug up every property she owned to inflate the lawsuit. So Sarah was stressed out of her mind and her assets were exposed and she felt like a sitting duck. And that's when she came to us at Asset Protection Planners. We set up land trusts for her properties as a small but important part of an overall asset protection plan. We typically just don't set up onesie-twosie land trusts. We do this as an overall all-encompassing plan. And then suddenly her name vanished from the public records. The lawsuit, it settled for pennies because the lawyer couldn't find her assets. That's the power of a land trust. Statistics back this up. According to a 2023 report by the National Association of Realtors, over 60% of real estate investors face at least one lawsuit in their careers, often triggered by a public record search, exposing their holdings. So the lawyer and the first thing the attorney does is they look in the public records to see what they own. If they see nothing, it's very unlikely they're going to take the case. I mean, they're into this thing to get money in their own pockets, and if they don't see there's anything they can put in their pockets, they're going to deny taking the case. So a land trust can reduce this risk by making it harder for lawyers to target you. But it's not just for investors. Homeowners too can use land trusts to keep their primary residences private. Ever had a nosy neighbor or a pushy salesman show up because they looked up your address? A land trust stops that cold. Now, not all land trusts are created equal. There are 2 main types, and understanding the difference is crucial. So let's break it down. First, we have a title holding land trust, and these are the ones most people think of when they hear of land trust, and they're designed to hold real estate privately. So here's how it works. You, the property owner, known as the settlor, typically, transfer the title to the trustee/trust who holds it for a beneficiary, often you or somebody you designate, but typically be you. Your name disappears from the public records, making it tough for creditors or lawyers to link you to the property because you just record the deed saying the property's in the trust, but typically you don't have to record the trust itself in the public record. So the trust itself says who the beneficiary is, but that's a private document you just keep in your own private records. The public records just show the property is owned by a trust, but doesn't say who owns or who's the beneficiary of the trust. So this is the type we're going to focus on today, and it's perfect for both rental properties and your primary home. Then there's the conservation land trust, and the only reason we're discussing it is because we want to clarify the difference between the two. The conservation land trusts are less common and have a different purpose, preserving land for environmental or historical reasons. So imagine donating a piece of farmland to ensure it's never developed into a strip mall, for example. Or I know somebody who they pitched in to buy land for hunting purposes or into hunting. So that's a conservation trust. They're great for estate planning or philanthropy, but they're not about privacy or asset protection, so we won't dwell on those here. And to give you a sense of scale, by the way, a 2024 study by the Land Trust Alliance found that conservation trusts protected over 61 million acres of land in the U.S., but for every one conservation trust, and investments from prying eyes. At Asset Protection Planners, we specialize in title holding land trusts to keep your real estate private and secure. So every land trust has 3 main players here. It's the settlor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. And this can be one or more people or companies. So let's meet them and see how they work together to protect your privacy. First up, the settlor. That's typically you, the person who calls us and has us create the trust and puts the property into it. As the settlor, we draft the trust agreement and help, and you decide who gets what and set the rules. So you're the mastermind behind the operation. For example, I helped a client named Mike set up a land trust for a beachfront condo as a part of an overall plan, and he was the settlor. He wanted privacy because he was a public figure, and we made sure that his name stayed off the deed. Next, the trustee here. Now, the trustee holds title to the property. They don't hold it in their own name, they hold it as trustee of the trust, meaning they have to follow the instructions of the trust. So they're like the gatekeeper, but they don't own the property, they just manage it according to your instruction. So here's a pro tip: don't pick your cousin Bob as the trustee, even if he's trustworthy. If the trustee has your last name or a close connection, it's easier for somebody to link you to the property. So instead, we often use a Wyoming LLC as the trustee at Asset Protection Planners. So why do we do that? Because it adds an extra layer of anonymity and legal protection. More on that in a bit. Finally, the beneficiary. Okay, now this is the one who benefits from the property, like rental income or sale proceeds. Often the settlor is also the beneficiary, which, so if you call us and have us set up land trusts and other structures for you, we'll typically make you the settlor of the trust and also the initial beneficiary of the trust. And we have another document that lets you assign the beneficial interest to an LLC later for a rental property, which means that you can enjoy the property's value without your name in the public records on the title. So let's go back to Mike. He was both the settlor and the beneficiary. He got the rental income from his condo while staying invisible in the public record. So here's a real world stat. A 2022 survey by the American Bar Association found that 78% of land trust users choose to be both the settlor and the beneficiary to maximize control and privacy. So it's a smart move, and like I say, we've set up thousands of trusts at assetprotectionplanners.com. Okay, now let's talk about why using a Wyoming LLC as the trustee of your land trust is like bringing both a cloak and an invisibility shield to the fight. At Asset Protection Planners, we often set up a Wyoming LLC to serve as the trustee for our clients' land trusts, and here's why it's a game changer. First, enhanced legal protection. Wyoming has some of the strongest LLC laws in the country, so if a creditor comes after you, Wyoming's charging order protection makes it nearly impossible for a judge to force you to sell the property to pay a debt. Second, anonymity. So we add to our Wyoming LLC our virtual office services, including a Wyoming address and phone number. So if somebody searches for the trustee, they'll find a generic company, not you. We also add the nominee manager services, keeping your name out of the public records. So you still control the LLC because you have all the membership interests, you hold all the voting rights, but to the outside world, you're invisible. Now let me tell you about a client, Linda, a doctor who owned a vacation home over in Colorado. She worried about malpractice lawsuits exposing her assets. So we set up a land trust with a Wyoming LLC as trustee, and then when a lawyer tried to dig into her holdings, they found nothing. The lawsuit fizzled out because they couldn't connect Linda to her properties. It looked like she owned nothing. So that's the kind of protection that we deliver at assetprotectionplanners.com. It keeps lawyers from finding your assets, so it lowers your likelihood that somebody's going to sue you. Here's a fun fact. Wyoming is home to over 200,000 LLCs, according to a 2024 state report, largely because of its privacy-friendly laws. It's no wonder we use them as trustees for land trusts. Now, land trusts are powerful, but like anything, they have upsides and downsides. So let's break them down so you'll know exactly what you're getting into. Here are the pros. Number one, privacy of ownership. Your name stays off of the public records unless a court orders otherwise. So this is huge for avoiding lawsuits or unwanted attention. Number two, ease of transfer. You can change beneficiaries without updating the public records, making it simple to transfer property rights. So that you have, say, your house in a land trust, and you can have an assignment of beneficial interest document and assign your beneficial interest to somebody else when you sell it to them. And that way that transfer isn't publicly recorded. It's still in the trust, but you have a different beneficiary, so therefore a different legal owner of the property. Number three, lawsuit prevention. Contingency fee lawyers won't often take a case if they can't find your assets, like we said before. A 2023 legal study found that 65% of frivolous lawsuits are dropped when the assets are hidden. Number four, it avoids probate. Land trust may help bypass the costly and time-consuming probate process, ensuring your property goes to your heirs smoothly. successfully. Number 5, tax advantages. You can still qualify for homeowners exemptions like mortgage interest deductions. Number 6, works nationwide. Even states without land trust laws, we've seen clients use them in those states. So keep in mind, not everything that we do in life has a law associated with it. I know of no law that states whether you can or can't wear red shoes. Similarly, land trusts have been accepted over many centuries of their use, and we've seen clients use them in all 50 states successfully. I think Tennessee might be an exception. Number 7, hide sales prices. So when you sell, you can simply transfer your beneficial interest in the trust and the price stays private, unlike public deed transfers. Okay, so here are the downsides, here are the cons. Number 1, financing hurdles. Now, some lenders require you to transfer the property to your name for a loan, but then you can just transfer it back to the trust afterwards. Number 2, not automatic lawsuit protection. So for real estate asset protection, we pair the trust with an LLC as the beneficiary, plus we employ equity stripping to strip the equity out of the property. You can see more of that in other videos. Just go to my channel and do a search for the equity stripping videos. You can learn more about that. So without these two defenses, a determined creditor could still target the property. So here's a story to illustrate. John, a client, put his rental properties into land trusts but didn't use an LLC as the beneficiary. So when a tenant sued, the trust kept his name private, but the property was still vulnerable. And he was still vulnerable because he was personally the beneficiary. So we helped him add an LLC as the beneficiary and then add equity stripping liens on the property, shielding it from future lawsuits. So lesson learned, land trusts are a privacy tool, not a bulletproof shield on their own. So that's why we don't just like to set up one land trust. We like to have it as an overall plan so you get real protection, not just the illusion of protection. So if you're ready to set up your own land trust, here is a step-by-step guide to make that happen. Don't worry, I'll keep it simple but thorough. Number 1, hire a professional. Never a DIY land trust. One mistake could expose your assets. And at Asset Protection Planners, we set up thousands of trusts so we know the pitfalls to avoid. You might say, oh, well, you're just saying that because you want to sell us a land trust. Well, not really. We don't typically just sell one land trust anyway. I'm saying that because I've seen the courts penetrate through ones that were done by amateurs time and time again. There are certain provisions that need to be in place. The titling needs to be done properly and so on. I mean, we saw one client who tried to DIY their land trust in Texas, and they didn't include a certain provision on the paperwork, and they totally lost their homestead protection. You know, Texas provides 100% homestead protection, so when you get sued, you can't lose your home. They lost that because their land trust is set up wrong. I mean, that's just one of many mistakes that could be made all over the country. So make sure it's set up professionally. So that's why I say it. Step 2, choose your trustee and beneficiary. Again, we recommend you have a setup. A Wyoming LLC as the trustee for maximum privacy, and that Wyoming LLC should have a virtual office and nominee privacy so your name stays out of the public records, so you can be the beneficiary and you can still keep control. Number 3, have the trust agreement drafted. So this document outlines the trustee's duties and lists the properties. Our team at Asset Protection Planners handles all this for you. Step number 4, transfer the properties. So what you do is you sign the deed over to the trust/trustee, removing your name from the public records, and that document, that deed, gets recorded in the public records, reflecting the trust/trustee as the owner of the property instead of you personally. Number 5, keep records. Store the trust agreement safely and follow its guidelines. The paper trail proves the trust validity if it's challenged. So let's look at a case study. Emma, a retiree, wanted to protect her Arizona home from potential creditors. We sent her a questionnaire to name the trust. She chose something like the 123 Desert Lane Trust, picked a Wyoming LLC as the trustee, a virtual office, nominee officers, or managers in this case, and we drafted the trust agreement. She signed the deed at a notary public and recorded it in the county recorder's office. She stored the trust in a safe deposit box or a secure file cabinet at home, and now her home is private and she sleeps better at night. So before we wrap this up, let's talk about the mistakes 90% of property owners make with a land trust. Avoiding these will save you headaches and money. Mistake number 1, choosing the wrong trustee. Picking a family member with your last name or a friend really defeats the privacy purpose. So use a Wyoming forming LLC instead. So here's what I found. Inexperienced trustees often fear personal liability if they serve as the trustee of a land trust. I mean, the truth is there's almost none, but that fear can make the whole relationship unpleasant. It's better to have your own LLC as the trustee of the trust, and that way you control everything. You don't have to involve nervous Nellies or outside parties. Mistake number 2, skipping the LLC beneficiary. Now this is for rental properties. You want an LLC as the beneficiary because the beneficiary is the vulnerable party, so this adds lawsuit protection. So don't skip this step unless it's your primary residence where you want to remain the beneficiary in most cases so that you don't lose your homeownership tax benefits. That's a different bucket than rental properties. You know, things like writing off the interest on your personal income and being able to not pay taxes when you sell the property and other things. So don't have an LLC as a beneficiary typically if it's a land trust that owns your personal residence. Mistake number 3, not recording the deed. If you don't record the deed, the trust really isn't official and your name stays in the public records. I mean, if you want privacy, I mean, there may be pocket deeds that you hold and record later, but in this case, you want to record it because otherwise your name stays in the public records. Mistake number 4, ignoring state laws. While land trusts do work nationwide, some states have quirks, so make sure to work with a pro to navigate these quirks. A client named Tom learned this the hard way. He set up a land trust, but he didn't record the deed, and when a creditor searched his property, his name popped up. They searched his name, and he owns that property, and he faced a lawsuit. So we fixed it, but it cost him time and stress. Don't be Tom. Okay, so what's your next step? If you own a home or investment property, a land trust could be your ticket to privacy and peace of mind. Here's what to do. Visit assetprotectionplanners.com. You can get a lot of free information. If you want an overall asset protection plan, not just one land trust, but an overall part of a whole plan, you can reach out and talk to one of our attorneys and consultants. And we don't typically, like I say, set up one land trust for somebody unless they are an existing client. We specialize in all-encompassing plans to protect all your assets. So we walk you through your options. So gather your property details like the address and the deed. This speeds up the process. Decide if you want an LLC beneficiary for extra protection, especially for your rentals, and act now. Don't wait for a lawsuit to hit. I mean, the sooner you set up a land trust, the safer your assets are. So there you have it, your complete guide to land trust from privacy to lawsuit protection. These trusts are a must-have for any property owner. So if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already for more asset protection tips. At Asset Protection Planners, we're here to help you keep your wealth safe. So head over to Asset Protection Planners just for free information. I'm just giving you some free resources you can look at, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay private, stay protected.